Why did Jungkook's face change when he picked up his phone that night in Los Angeles? Why did he immediately step away from the group and take a deep breath before answering? And who was on the other end of the line that made him stare blankly into the darkness of the hotel balcony, his jaw clenched and his voice quieter than usual? Fans didn't know it then, but they do now. The voice on the other end of the phone wasn't from a manager. It wasn't from Bang Si-hyuk. It wasn't even from a fellow BTS member. It was from South Korea, miles away, and it came from someone whose voice carried both maternal warmth and sharp concern. It was Kim Taehyung's mother, and what she said left Jungkook shaken. "Jungkook, yeah? Why was my son crying?" Her voice cracked. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't even panic. It was something far deeper, an ache that only a mother could understand, and only someone like Jungkook could receive, because Jungkook had been there. He was the one who saw Taehyung in the quiet moments when the lights were off, the cameras weren't rolling, and the world wasn't watching. But what really happened in Los Angeles? What pushed Taehyung to tears behind closed doors? Why did his mother feel the need to call Jungkook directly? And what did she already know? This is not just a story about a global superstar feeling tired. This is a story about a breaking point, about a mother's intuition, about a brother's quiet worry, and about the unspoken truth behind the golden image of BTS during what was supposed to be their triumphant return. Behind the scenes of BTS's highly anticipated US promotional tour for their newest album, an album the world had been waiting for, a comeback moment after military service, illness, and emotional distance, something was unraveling. Something only a few noticed. Something Taehyung tried hard to hide, but not from his mother, and certainly not from Jungkook. A cry that couldn't be contained the moment it happened. The hotel suite in downtown Los Angeles was quiet. All the members had gathered after a long day of filming, photo shoots, and rehearsals. The mood had been light. Laughter had echoed. Even Taehyung, who had been unusually quiet that week, managed to smile during their group dinner. But Jungkook knew something wasn't right. Taehyung hadn't touched much of his food. He kept rubbing his temples. He stepped out multiple times, saying he needed fresh air. And when they all went back to their rooms, Jungkook noticed the light under Taehyung's door didn't go off for hours. When Jungkook finally knocked to check in, what he found broke him. Taehyung was sitting at the edge of the bed, face buried in his hands, shoulders shaking. Not dramatically, not for show, but quietly, desperately, like someone who didn't want anyone to hear. He was crying. Not the kind of tears you shed because you missed home or felt overwhelmed for a second. No, this was exhaustion. Pure, undeniable exhaustion that had been building up for weeks. "Young," Jungkook said softly, not knowing if he should approach or give space, but Taehyung didn't answer. He didn't even lift his head. He just whispered something so faint, Jungkook almost didn't catch it. "I thought I'd be okay by now." That one sentence said everything. The illness he thought he could hide. What most fans didn't know, until now, was that Taehyung had been unwell even before the US trip. Sources close to HYB confirmed that he had been battling fatigue and weakness since the final weeks of their military hiatus. Although he had been medically cleared to travel, insiders said he was advised to take it slow and not push himself during promotion. But Taehyung isn't someone who slows down, not when the world is waiting for BTS's return, not when ARMY has waited years, and certainly not when he feels he has something to prove, especially after rumors of health issues began circulating earlier this year. He smiled. He posed. He filmed. He danced. He recorded. He laughed when he had to, and no one knew, except Jungkook. Jungkook, who had been sharing a schedule with him, who saw how Taehyung's energy would drop the moment the cameras were off, who noticed how he leaned against a van window longer than usual on the ride back to the hotel, who caught him holding his stomach, massaging his temples, and hiding under sunglasses even at night. He asked several times, "Young, are you okay?" Taehyung always answered the same way, "I'm fine, don't worry." But that night in Los Angeles proved he wasn't. And the next day, the phone rang, the call that changed everything. It came at 12:41 a.m. Los Angeles time. Jungkook was sitting by the balcony, checking messages and reviewing some music arrangements. When the call came through, the caller ID read, "Iyama Taehyung." He froze. It wasn't unusual for Taehyung's mother to contact any of the members. They had all grown close over the years. But at that hour, it was never a good sign. He picked up immediately. Jungkook? Her voice was gentle, but laced with concern. Yes, Yama? I'm sorry to call so late. It's okay, what's wrong? There was a pause. Why was he crying? Jungkook didn't answer right away. I saw his face during the live stream. His eyes were swollen. I knew, and I had this feeling. Something's not right. Jungkook closed his eyes. He knew he couldn't lie, he's tired. Really tired. But he didn't want to worry you. Is he sick? Another pause. I think it's exhaustion. He's pushing through it, but he hasn't been eating much. He can't sleep. And then, the moment that gutted him. Please take care of him. I know he pretends he's strong. I know he doesn't tell me everything anymore. But I'm his mother, Jungkook. I can feel it. I raised him. I know his silence. Jungkook's voice cracked for the first time. I'll take care of him. I promise. She didn't say much after that. Just one last thing before she hung up. Tell him I called. And tell him it's okay to rest. The promise Jungkook made that night, and how BTS discovered the truth about Taehyung's health. The silence in Jungkook's room after the call was deafening. He stood by the balcony railing, the city of Los Angeles buzzing below him, his phone still in his hand long after the screen went dark. It was the kind of moment that sears itself into memory, a combination of responsibility, fear, love, and helplessness. Not as an idol, not as a performer, but as a brother. Jungkook had promised Taehyung's mother something he never took lightly. I'll take care of him. And from that moment on, everything changed. The next morning, Taehyung's smile didn't fool Jungkook the next day. The hotel suite was bright with sunlight and fake smiles. The BTS members were scheduled to appear on a major US morning show, promoting their long-awaited comeback album that had already shattered pre-release records. Stylists bustled around. Coffee orders were passed around. Laughter echoed down the hall. And Taehyung, he smiled. That trademark smile. The one fans would later screenshot from the interview and share millions of times, calling him radiant, ethereal, majestic. But Jungkook saw through it. He saw how Taehyung leaned ever so slightly against the wall when no one noticed. How his laugh came a second too late. How he kept glancing down between questions, his fingers twitching against his pants, betraying a restlessness not even Taehyung could mask. And Jungkook knew. The mask was back on. The pain was still there. S.O. During the car ride to the studio, while the others were chatting with their managers, Jungkook sent him a message from across the van. Hyung, your mom called me last night. Taehyung didn't react for a long moment. Then, slowly, he looked out the window and typed. I figured. Another message came a few seconds later. What did she say? She knew you were crying. Of course she did. She's worried. She asked me to take care of you. This time, no reply came. Not until they were pulling into the studio, when Jungkook finally looked over and saw Taehyung watching him. His eyes were rimmed with red. Not from crying, not anymore, but from sheer lack of sleep, he mouthed. Thank you. But gratitude was the easy part, because the hard part was just beginning. How the members started noticing the cracks. It started small. Jimin was the first to notice that Taehyung's appetite had disappeared. He didn't touch his toast again, he murmured to Jungkook one morning. He always eats eggs when we're abroad. It's like his comfort food. RM brought it up in passing after a recording session. Is it just me, or has Taehyung been zoning out during meetings lately? Even Jean, usually the one to bring humor into every situation, had a moment of seriousness backstage during a rehearsal. He's hiding something. I've known him long enough to know the difference between tired and worn down. Still, none of them knew just how far it had gone, until Taehyung nearly collapsed during a dance rehearsal 3 nights later.